Everyone, my name's Fiona. I'm a plastics campaigner with Greenpeace UK. We are here today on a bit of a rainy day on the River Wye in Wales. We've been sampling the River Wye today to test for microplastic pollution. So we know that 80% of plastic that ends up in the ocean has come from land. It's come from our rivers. So we're here. We're going all around the UK. We're doing the UK's largest ever survey of rivers to sample for microplastic pollution, and we're very lucky to have actor and director Bonnie Wright with us here today. So thank you for coming, Bonnie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you have decided to come out with us on this very gloomy Welsh day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would you tell me what first drew you to plastics? I know you've been working on this for quite a long time.
Yeah, so I've been collaborating on this campaign with Greenpeace for about a year and a half, and then before that, really, I guess just firsthand, I was really seeing, single-use plastics that was littering our oceans or our beaches, or even not only where I live by the Pacific coast in Los Angeles, but when I traveled, I was thinking really firsthand, and I thought, these are all objects that I, have been interacting with daily. Whether we consume, different foods and packaging, or these are all things that we unfortunately are interacting with. And I was just really intrigued as to how I, as an individual, can maybe begin to shift my habits, and then also at a larger scale, what could be done in terms of changing the materials we package things in. So that's really looking at corporations, and then also what policies could be put in place.
Definitely. So you mentioned policies there. So in a few months' time, the UK government will lay the Environment Bill for the UK. So what we want from that is we want really strong, robust commitments to slash the amount of single plastic, throwaway plastic that we're going home with every day, practically involuntarily. You can't avoid the stuff, can you? So there's a petition to the link in the box below or above, somewhere around here, that you can sign. I think 50,000 people have already signed that, which is just brilliant. Add your name to it if you haven't already. So Bonnie, if you were able to send a message to politicians, decision makers to tackle plastics, what is it you'd say to them?
Yeah, I think, I know first, I've tried myself to eliminate as much single-use plastics out of my life, but there are certain things you are just trapped within because you have no other option. I think also, at the end of the day, certain things like avoiding single-use plastics can sometimes be cheaper or more expensive. So rather than being trapped as the individual trying to take as much action as possible, it's really important that our government listen to the amount of people that are really trying to put single-use plastics, at the top of the agenda, to realize that we need certain policies in place to cap the amount of plastic that's in production. The terrifying amount of new plastic, facilities are being put into production so that more plastic can be made, but really we need to be eliminating it. We need to turn the tap off of plastics, and really the only way we can implement this is if policies are put in place that enable, us as the customer to have more options to buy other things. So whether or not maybe that's, forcing big corporations to phase single-use plastics out, to look into new materials that have either that could biodegrade, or looking at a more, I think the way forward really is looking at a more circular society way, is looking at the reusable mentality, rather than us kind of conveniently picking up one thing, using it once, throwing it away. How can we, set certain laws in place that you actually have to bring your own cup, bring your own, packaging to refill at supermarkets and things like that. I think it needs to be implemented, and I think it's incredible. I would say I've just been absolutely blown away by the amount of students striking and standing up for this. This is their future, and I feel as my generation we're kind of straddling this time, and I know that younger people than myself have been born into a climate and time where this is the only topic that's on their mind, because it's the entirety of their life upcoming. So I think it's really important that we focus on these things that really matter. I think particularly as if we're in a current time where we're in this weird kind of Brexit limbo, I think it's really important that we make sure we're realizing there are big topics that
Definitely.
are affecting a lot of children and youth's mind.
Yeah. Some of the best campaigners I know are children. They're amazing. So you mentioned there, like, we're designing waste. Like you were saying about how a circular economy, perhaps that would be a good thing that we could enter. But it is just bizarre that something that we're using for a matter of moments will outlive us all, basically, unless it's burnt, if it's sent to landfill or it's littered or wherever. These plastics can pollute our world for centuries to come. There's some evidence to suggest that plastic just doesn't go away at all. It just gets smaller and smaller, which is what we're sampling the rivers for over the next couple of months. So thank you for joining, anyone who's just joined us. You can have a look in our the link below and sign our petition to the government, which is asking them to put strong plastic reduction targets, along with other things, the restoration of nature in the UK. In the bio below, there's a petition. Have a look there. So as it stands, plastic production is set to skyrocket, despite us talking about it, kids talking about it, politicians talking about it, and the media talking about it. Plastic production is set to skyrocket over the next, till 2050, it's going to quadruple. So we really need action here. Less warm words, we really need action. So sign a petition asking the government to implement these strong reduction targets and protect our UK rivers and our beaches and wildlife. We saw an otter yesterday on the River Severn. So as a reminder, we're here today. We are sampling 13 of the UK's rivers for microplastic pollution. We're using this piece of kit just down here, which is called a manta net, and that we pop in the water and it goes in there for about an hour, sometimes less, sometimes more. And what collects at the end of the manta net, there's sort of a reservoir at the end. We send that to our laboratory. Greenpeace has a laboratory in at the University of Exeter, and that will be analysed and a report will come out later in the year. So Bonnie, I know that some of so Greenpeace yesterday put out a ask for questions from people. So I think if we have a go at going through them,
sure.
That maybe if you want to chat while we get those ready about your experience of the bridge this morning. We went and we did a sampling of the bridge.
Yeah, so earlier we were another section of the River Wye, and we lowered the manta net to see, it was lowered into the water, and as the water went through, as you were saying, it traps any debris that could obviously be both natural organic debris, but also potentially plastic. And we did find already, just quite quickly, visually seeing one piece of very bright blue plastic that looked pretty incongruous in the capture. And as you said, that'll be sent back to the university. And what I find really interesting about the research you're doing there is that it can then be tested to see exactly what type of plastic that is. And obviously from there, it's like, if you figure out what type of plastic is, you probably figure out like maybe what it once was. So maybe it was once, packaging that packaged lettuce, which doesn't need to happen. We could be packaging it in it could be loose. We could shop in a loose way for fruit and vegetables, or it could have stemmed from a plastic bottle, which we obviously instead could be using a reusable water bottle. So all of this is obviously really, really important information to collate, so that Greenpeace can be, best equipped with the knowledge to, show to the government, show to individuals that this is really happening. This is ending up in the river that we're in, and therefore floating down into the water. And I think a big thing for me in the process of sort of, I guess, storytelling this story that we're like being a part of and communicating to everyone that's tuning in. So thank you for tuning in. As we're sat here, I think, this could look, this isn't maybe obviously directly affecting us, but it really is. Only it obviously can affect the habitats of, fishes and different animals, the otters and everything. This all comes back to our health as well. And this is what obviously so much of the young are realizing and the youth are striking for, is that this is going to affect us. We are of nature as much as the otter that you saw. So this all stems back to us. And the river that's connected to the ocean, all of the, everything is one big cycle. So I think however far away this river could feel to you
Yeah.
tuning in at home, this is all very connected, and that's why it's really important. So, as we said, in the comment box below, there is a link that you can go to sign a petition and even just learn more about this campaign and exactly what it is, because I know you're going to be running this for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
this
we
is
will.
one of 12, 13
This is
rivers?
one of 13 rivers. Yeah. So we're heading to Scotland next month. We've already done a couple of rivers in Wales, and we've been to Northern Ireland last week. So there's 13 rivers coming up. It's the biggest survey that's been done of UK rivers. And you've touched on a really good point there, is particularly in the UK, our rivers are what connect us. So I feel like this is a really good piece of scientific work that we can be doing at the moment that adds to the conversation of plastic pollution.
Definitely, yeah.
So I have, well, no, I don't in front. Oh, yes, I do. In front of me, I've got some questions here from people that saw Greenpeace's call out yesterday for questions for you. So, what makes you an advocate for plastic reduction in our oceans? What made you get involved?
Yeah, so I firsthand just saw, single-use plastics floating in the water and ocean. I surf, so I can be just sat there on my board and seeing plastic float by, and it just obviously looks so incongruous and not fitting to a beautiful, horizon of water. It just doesn't make any sense, and it shouldn't be there. And littered on the beaches, and a lot of the time, it's, you can get to beach cleanups, or you can pick up the debris in the water, but then you think, what do we do with this now that means it won't end back up in the water? So I think that really stemmed my interest to really think, like, how can this not exist here, and how can I not only help to clean up, but also to switch the tap off of new plastic being produced. So that really inspired me to see what actions I could take, get involved with Greenpeace, and also just made me sort of think and really relook at my own lifestyle of how I interact with throwaway packaging, not only plastic, to be honest. It's really realized in all areas of my life, how could I be lowering the waste that I produce, and how that is directly affected to just my impact, and therefore all of our impact on the environment. And then obviously beyond that, which is why we're here today, and why we're really calling to the government to really take strong action. There's only so much an individual can do, and I think it's really important that we make those in power and in government hear us and realize that we're trying, but we need your help now, and we need you to take strong action. And I think also not only government, but also corporations, they sit with a lot of power. They're selling us these products packaged in certain ways, and they're trapping us in certain choices. And I think, we live in a consumer society model. We can't kind of live on the fringe. We have to be consumers, and there's nothing wrong with being consumers. I just think we want to be conscious consumers, and we need to be given choices, and we need to, I want to buy things from corporations and brands that have, really thought about their impact and have kind of integrity, and they've made choices that are going to help us.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important that this is accessible. I think this needs to be accessible across all, demographics across all continents. I think, this cannot be something that's just a choice for those who maybe have the freedom to make choices. Because often, climate is affecting already. It often affects towns, villages, cities that are maybe of, a lower kind of economic stature, and I think it's important we realize that we can't assume this issue is only cared about by people who have freedom of choice.
Definitely. So you are joining us from the River Wye today. My name's Fiona, I'm a plastics campaigner, and this is Bonnie Wright. She's an actor and director. So what we are asking of everybody watching at home, thanks for joining, is to sign the petition in the box below, asking the government for strong commitment to splash plastic. We'd also like a strong environmental watchdog to be implemented. So thank you so much, Bonnie. I think we'll say bye there, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, for joining, and just by participating. I hope that it starts your journey, if it hasn't begun already, in becoming part of this issue.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.